So welcome back to another video, and this is my top 10 list of daily trainers I've used in 2024. Now over the last couple of weeks I've given you my most used speed day shoes and of course my long run shoes. Today's the turn of the daily trainers. I've gone onto Strava and added up all the miles in the shoes that I've used on anything that's not a long run day and a speed session day. And so today I'll be giving you guys a list of the top 10 most used as well as the most miles logged. There is a difference and we'll get into that straight away. So we'll start with a list of the most miles and we'll move on to the most runs after this. Kick-starting at the bottom in 10th place is the Saucony Ride 17. This is a shoe I got back earlier in the year and absolutely loved it. I found it an extremely versatile shoe and a brilliant upgrade from version 16. Version 15 was a great shoe. It was a little bit firm, but it was still a lightweight package and I felt I could do quite a bit in that shoe. Version 16 got a lot heavier. Version 17, big upgrade, new midsole foam, basically the same type of foam that was used in the Saucony Triumph 21. A little bit less stack height, but a very versatile shoe. Actually found it to be really good for some marathon pace work as well. But in terms of the most miles, this one came in at the bottom. In at 9th place is the Nike Pegasus Plus. This one has been a real surprise to me. I got this one in, tested it straight away in a speed workout shoe to bring back some nostalgia from those old Turbo days. What a shoe the Turbo 2 was. I used that so much. Never ever had the chance to test the original Turbo, but the 2 was my favourite. Obviously I tried the Nature version, did not like that at all, way too heavy, and this one is pretty darn good. However, what I've found is that it's much better at logging daily miles than speed day stuff. I've got a lot of speed day shoes that are a lot lighter than the Pegasus Plus, and so I've just ended up finding that I've been slipping it on for easy and steady runs, and it's been absolutely brilliant so far. In 8th place is the On Cloud Monster 2. This is actually the Hyper, but I've still got it in the office. Very, very similar, but a little bit of a softer foam in the forefoot here. Actually my preferred version over the 2, but I did use the On Cloud Monster 2 a fair bit earlier in the year when I was nursing a little bit of an ankle tweak. It wasn't anything major, it didn't particularly stop me running, but I found some shoes aggravated it more than others, and I basically spent a week or just over running in the Monster 2 because it was the one shoe I found that provided, and I'll show you with this one, a little bit more high ankle support. So this came up a little bit over the base of my ankle bone, not enough that caused any rubbing, but I just felt like my ankle was secured enough in there that I didn't rock left and right, and it was actually the only shoe, believe it or not, that enabled me to run without any pain whatsoever, and it nursed me through a slight ankle tweak and got me out the other side. So that one comes in at number 8. And number 7, the Brooks Hyperion Max. This was my second pair of these shoes. Had great success with them last year and had very good success with them this year. Now the majority of the miles that I put in this shoe, and I believe this version is just shy of 400, but I have retired it in the end. Most of it was done out on long runs and long run workouts, but I did find it to be so versatile that I really enjoyed using it for daily and easy miles as well. It was one of those shoes that you look at your rotation, you look at your lineup, and you just look at this thing and go, it can do absolutely everything. So again, it was a shoe that I gravitated for quite a bit during my early marathon training back for London this year, and as I said, it did a great job covering all bases, but still really good daily miles as well. And in 6th place is the Asics Nusitri 16, a recent addition, or in the last 2 or 3 months. That one has been absolutely brilliant. I can't rave about that one enough. I've done a video, it has indeed got over 100 miles. I did mention the one sticking point with that shoe, very, very neutral indeed. One of those shoes that it doesn't offer you any support whatsoever. So if you need a little bit of something, your ankles, I find, do roll in, especially after I've done, let's say, over 6 to 8 to 10 miles. When I start to get a little bit longer towards 90-minute runs, I do find my ankles get a little bit sore, but overall on the shorter runs, it's been absolutely brilliant. I have limited its use since then for that reason, because obviously I don't want to get injured, but I have found it to be absolutely fantastic, a complete unsung hero in the Asics lineup. And speaking of Asics, the Nova Blast 4 comes in 5th place. Again, a shoe I was using quite a lot earlier in the year, and if I'm honest with you, I was kind of pushing that to 100 miles to get it done so that I could just put it to one side. Sadly, it's the version of the shoe that I haven't enjoyed the most. I am obviously one of the biggest Nova Blast fans out there. I took a chance on that version 1 shoe when everyone else was trying out the Glide Ride and the Meta Ride and whatever else, those Evo rides back in the early days, and no one was picking up the Nova Blast. So I went for it, and it was just the best decision ever. Version 2 was again a brilliant shoe. I preferred 1, but 2 was still great. 3 was quite a big change, lightweight, suddenly became a lot more versatile, but still really enjoyable. And sadly, version 4 with the Eco Foam, it's just not really that fun anymore, and I was finding it to be a little bit unstable, and again getting quite sore ankles in that one when I was running over a certain distance. So I shelved it and I parked it. That one got in at 5th place. And coming in at 4th place is the Saucony Triumph 22. I'm going against the grain here. I'm going to say I really enjoyed this version. A lot of people were really disappointed with it, and I totally understand. I never particularly used the Triumph 21 for anything more than easy or moderate runs, but I know a lot of you guys used it for quite a fair bit more than that, and so I can appreciate if you were one of those people and then you picked up this one, you will have noticed that suddenly it's a lot less versatile. We got really sold by the fact that it's now got Power and PB in it, so we all got really excited. But what it meant was it was just an extremely comfortable, easy plodder, because the weight gain in this shoe from the previous version was quite substantial, if I remember rightly. So it turned a lot of people off, but for me, it was a great easy day mileage shoe. I really enjoyed it, and that's why it comes in at 4th in the list. And in 3rd place is the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, a shoe that I wouldn't expect to have been logging so many daily, easy, moderate miles in, but I did. And the reason for that is I didn't really like it that much for speed work. I did get a speed session in, I tested it out, and I put a video up on the extra channel for that, and it did okay, it was all right. But the version 4, again, sadly, is just another case of the fact that it has become a bit too stable, a bit wider platform. The foam was a bit mushy, it didn't really have as much spring back as previous versions have. I wasn't a huge fan of the 3. The 1 and the 2 were absolutely incredible, game-changing at the time. The 3 just made it more universally friendly for more people, and the 4 kept that sort of geometry, that shape, but I feel like the foam just wasn't the same as the version 3. And again, one of those shoes that was kind of like meh, I think is the best way to describe it, not to mention the fact that I got a little bit of a toe rubbing in between the big toe and the next toe towards the end of the use there. So even though I say all of that, it still manages 3rd place. The Hyperion Max 2 comes in at 2nd place, and the reason this one is up there is taken a lot of the moderate miles. Less easy, slightly more steady miles, but again, these are all under my aerobic threshold, nice and controlled, and it was a good mileage shoe for marathon training, or the first part of it anyway, in this latter stage of the year. The Noosa Tri actually took over from this shoe, but I still really appreciated what this shoe had to offer. It was a little bit of a shock getting this one, going from the previous Max, I can't remember where it is, it's just here. Such a big change in terms of weight. Again, I think like a huge 75 gram increase. I mean, that is probably the biggest weight gain I've ever seen in any model of shoe, but they completely remodeled this thing. We've got blown rubber up the sidewalls here, which again adds a bit more stability, a slightly wider platform. The upper on this one is much better. Everything about this shoe, I've got to be honest with you, is better than this, but I think what they've done is then they've brought on the Hyperion 2 to almost be a successor to this one, and so the model and the lineup in general has changed around, and so this has become a little bit more high stacked, easier on the feet, more cushioned, and as I said, a bit more of a mileage hog, which is why it's come up in 2nd place. And obliterating everything else in 1st place is the Hoka Max 6. I can't wax lyrical enough about this shoe this year. It has been absolutely fantastic, and although the bulk of the mileage has indeed been in these easy days and steady moderate days, I have been able to also use it for workouts and long runs as well. And this thing stood the test of time. I got over 400 miles in the shoe, which is something I've never been able to do with a Hoka before. Supercritical EVA was a massive upgrade in this shoe, and it just changed the game for Hoka in general. I know that they've introduced some of that PIBA racing midsole foam in some of their more higher end racing shoes and super trainers, whatever you want to call it, but their bottom end sort of Clifton's, Rincons, Max, they've always suffered from that early degradation where they just flatten out way too quickly and we all feel like we've wasted our money. Not anymore though, and I do wonder if that's why we've not seen the Clifton 10 this year. I wonder if they've postponed it because this has had so much success with the new Supercritical EVA. I wonder if they're going back to tinker with the Clifton 10 and putting some of that in the midsole for that one. I'll be curious to know if anyone knows anything about that, but either way, the Max 6 comes in at top spot. Now, of course, that was all the most miles logged. I have a list of the most runs, which actually is different different from the most miles logged, because some of those shoes that I mentioned were good either medium long run shoes done at a really relaxed steady pace, or some were short easy runs, meaning that some of the ones that have higher miles actually have less runs in them, because some of the runs that I was doing in them were over or in and around a half marathon distance, whereas some of the easy runs were more like 6 or 7 miles. So I'm just going to rattle through from bottom to top, 10th place up to first, the shoes in the order of the most runs. So 10th and 9th stay the same, the Saucony Ride 17 and the Pegasus Plus. They are both 5 runs each, but the Noosa Tri comes in at number 8. Obviously it was higher in the previous list, and as I've just alluded to, that's because those ones took on some of those nice and relaxed, easy or medium, steady, long runs during marathon training, lovely and controlled out there flowing on the trail. So that was less of an easy day, sort of shorter 45, 50, 60 minute run shoe, and maybe more of an 75, 80, 90 minute run shoe. So that one comes in at 8th. In 7th place is the On Cloud Monster 2. That's bumped up a place from the previous list. And then of course the Brooks Hyperion Max, that's also bumped up a little bit as well. So both of those shoes slightly shorter runs, less of the medium long runs or less of the longer easy to steady runs, and a little bit more of those shorter easy runs for those. The Brooks Hyperion Max 2 drops to 5th place from 2nd on the list, and again that highlights that I was using that shoe predominantly for those medium long runs. After that initial testing, they pretty much got out there for, as a minimum, 75 minutes, 75, 80, 90 minutes cruising out there on the trails. So again, less runs in that one, but more miles. The Saucony Triumph holds firm at 4th place, exactly the same as in the previous list with 11 runs, but the Nova Blast bumps up to 3rd with 12 runs. Again, that one did a lot of shorter runs during the earlier stages of the year, so plenty more time on feet, I guess, in that one. The Speed 4 has moved up to 2nd place also with 12 runs, I guess joint 2nd with the Nova Blast there. So again, that's moved up, some shorter runs in that one, not the longer stuff like we've seen in the Hyperion Max. So that one bumps up, but still holding firm at the top, of course, is the Hoka Mach 6 with 46 runs. Once again, absolutely obliterating every other shoe. So there we go, that's my top 10 daily trainers used this year, from the most runs to the most miles. Of course, I'd love to hear from you guys what your most used daily trainer is down in the comments below. I'm preparing for the big old running shoe awards, which will be coming very soon, probably next week. Really excited to deliver that video. As always, every single year, I love to gather all the shoes together, categorize them, and give you some winners and some runners up. I'm excited to share all my thoughts next week, but for now, this is the daily trainer roundup. So do drop a comment below and let me know how you got on with yours this year. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and I'll see you on the next one.